Welcome to Comment Cocktails. I'm your host Derrick Schommer. Go with me, Ian Andrews, and we've got
Thiago.
Thiago.
Yaguara Cachaça.
And Hamilton Low, Yaguara Cachaça.
How do you say it?
Yaguara.
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 Ah, okay. Excellent.
So, what we wanted to do today is kind of give you, just get an idea of what your story is. Want to taste some cachaça? Did I say cachaça?
Yeah.
That sounds right. Because sometimes if you're drinking too much, it becomes cachaça, or like it just gets weird to say.
There's 1,400 names for it in Brazil. I think there's,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of
We have
things.
like a vocabulary just for it in dictionaries. It's
And so, like, I know a lot of the people who watch understand the base of the product, and when I say a lot, I'd say at least, I don't know, 5%.
It's a beginning, right?
Yeah,
It's a
but
start.
honestly, I mean, our base is a lot of U.S. people, but we're worldwide. We've got audience YouTube, so you could be anywhere. But I know a good group from the U.S. I think cachaça is kind of still growing there. The awareness is there. People know what it is.
People associate it with rum. So
Yeah, I hope they
but it's a
do,
different
at least.
spirit. But I think there's people
It's like,
have a type.
it's like a cousin. It's kind of like what mezcal is to tequila, so
Right.
cachaça is to rum.
Oh, right.
That's a great
in
analogy.
a sort of a relationship way.
So I guess first, before we get into what cachaça is, what are you guys up to? How did you get to? Where did this come from? Were you at a bar drinking? And then you were like,
that's always
that
the
is the
case,
story,
you know?
fundamental
But
story.
it's
All
like,
week.
yeah, exactly. Especially here at Tails, it's just like
Yeah.
a bunch of bars to see. But basically, in a nutshell, the story started like my family has been producing cachaça in Brazil for 5 generations now,
Okay, that's a long time.
but it was like moonshine and bootlegging, so just family and friends basically.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up drinking cachaça, and especially in the countryside, because that's where we're from, basically.
Right.
So like we're a farmer's family, and you have a lot of cachaça in the countryside. So basically, when we used to live abroad, we used to always take my grandfather's cachaça, and Hamilton is a childhood friend of ours, of mine and my brother also is also a partner. And we were just like, guys, this is a great product, it's a great spirit. Why don't you guys start doing something? At some points in our lives, we all got bills to pay, we all have work, and we loved it. We always used to drink it in Brazil and abroad. And I think the way I fell in love with it, my friends also fell in love with it, and it started growing, and that's basically how cachaça came into play with us, I think,
And you at some point you're just like, we got to do this, and pulled it. I mean, you got the bottles, the designs, all that stuff.
It was a funny one. His brother actually sent me like 2 cases when we were about 21 and 22, and our hair's down to here, and was like, dude, we need to do something with this. And I was like, I don't know how the hell to do it. But okay, so we kept it, but then it resurfaced about 6 or 7 years later when we'd all gone into our little industries and I'd gone to do a little work in advertising. I think we just kind of met people, plucked up the courage that we kind of felt we found a way to market, and actually, it's a big bad world out there in the alcohol industry. So it took a little bit of courage before we jumped in, and I picked up the phone to Chis and Thiago, and Chis actually gave me a telling off for not calling sooner, because he was angry that we hadn't done it at 22. I said, I think we're about to do it now, and that's kind of really just off we went from there.
And it just became a thing. And
It's like a huge mix of disciplines to try to bring a brand up. You
Yeah.
have to have the marketing, you have to have the distillation, you have to have the manufacturing aspect.
Right.
It's a lot to. There's a lot to take, especially the 22.
and the
we have
hustle,
a lot to take
like
on.
to be able to get this out to everybody, and because you can't just throw it at a bar or hand it to a liquor store and say, sell this stuff. You need to build that brand awareness, and
Oh,
like
there's
you
a
have to sit
regulatory
down
aspect.
and do tastings around different areas.
So I think besides the brand awareness, also you have a category issue.
Oh,
Because
the cachaça
yeah,
stuff.
cachaça, because it just got recognized in 2014 in the US, which before used to be called Brazilian rum. So Brazil recognized bourbon because we used to call bourbon whiskey, and the US recognized cachaça as cachaça because it used to be called Brazilian rum. So I think besides also having let's put the brand awareness, you also have the category awareness before that. Which
Yeah.
for the customer, it's something pretty new.
That's
Especially
only 2
in the
years,
US.
right?
Yeah,
2014?
there was a big campaign, and
Really?
I guess it's very important, but going back to what you were saying, how do we do it? I mean, I think it was about building the team at the beginning, and the first step was to, Thiago's grandfather has been making it for so long, but he was 81. It's a small sort of family pot still, and it's just not going to be big enough to do what we want to do and share it with you folks. So they went out and went to find the best master blender distiller that we could, and I think that took about a year. Visiting 60 distilleries with the master blender, and his name is Owen Wyman. And you mentioned your German heritage is a huge German population in Brazil, from basically beginning of the 1800s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like in the south of Brazil, like the signs are in 2 languages. I mean, it's
I knew I knew that but I thought a lot of it was just people leaving from World War.
No, I thought the same
Yeah.
thing.
Oh.
Same thing, but like Owen's family's been there since 1849.
Yeah,
as a
big
family.
migration.
Like promotion. I mean,
Germans, Italians.
Chaga's family is originally an Italian family from 1888, so it's much like the United States. It's
Melting pot.
It's a melting pot, exactly that. You've got Japanese communities, and you've got Spanish communities, Portuguese communities, Italian communities. So it's a crazy country.
And it's a large landmass. I mean, I don't think people understand how big Brazil is.
It's nuts. It's I think it's got the highest helicopter per capita, highest aeroplane per capita in the world, simply because next door is
Right.
a long way.
Yeah.
It's really far.
It's not just a hop, skip, and a jump in the car.
Absolutely. So so we got the master blender Owen, and you and your brother went around 60 distilleries, like opening their doors and trying to really make the best product that we could. And then at the same time, you say what goes into product. It's liquid, and I guess it's packaging as well was a very important thing, and the brand. Now the brand luckily came out of Thiago's family, which is great, but. And I'm now suddenly doing all the talking, I've realised. That always happens. But I think what we wanted to do is, when we started, it was really important for us to build a Brazilian cachaça for Brazilians and launch it in Brazil before going abroad. So from the bottle design, lucky enough my godfather's a stained glass artist, so he did the design for free, which was very kind of him.
Yeah.
And this pattern that you see here is the national pattern really of Brazil. It goes down the Copacabana promenade, and if you look at the Olympic torch this year, it's also in there. And then the name Yaguara means jaguar in the original Brazilian language, which is the animal Brazil. The liquid is the national spirit of Brazil, and we just wanted
Marry them together.
yeah, and
It's
also
got a lot of heritage. to it.
and we these guys were like, we don't want the dangerous. We don't want to be the gringo cachaça, says the gringo.
Right.
But that was the case.
It makes a lot of sense. The authenticity will carry over wherever you go from there. If
Yeah.
you make something true to the country, it's always going to be true to the country, no
Yeah,
matter where it
and
goes.
the fact that we, it's like, I mean, I'm from England, and launching gin into the English market like terrifies me. It's the same thing. There's 5,000 brands.
Right.
Right.
Cachaça.
It's like launching vodka in the U.S.
It's just
and everybody's doing it, and that's
Caribbean, yeah.
from what we're understanding, that's the way they're making their money is bringing vodka. And I'm like, that is going to be so incredibly difficult when everybody's doing it, and
Exactly.
you're just another bottle. Regardless of your story, how do you have to get it out? You have to explain that there is a heritage that goes back many generations. Otherwise, people just see a cool bottle, and that might be enough. Like I know people who just go, "Cool bottle, it's mine," right?
I agree.
But I think here it might have a little bit of an advantage. Now.
Yeah, I think that's something which, when just what Hamilton was saying about the bottle and everything, it's something that when we thought about designing it also, Brian, he also thought about the bartender when he was doing this. So that's why it has the grip to it, has the relief, also has
Long enough spout. Yeah.
Exactly, so you can put on the well, you can do that. It's like a practical bottle for you to have also.
Right.
So that's something which we thought about, because at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, like I use this, but who's going to use this directly?
A lot of people don't seem to think about that because
Yes,
there's
they
a lot of
don't.
crazy bottles out there that.
Every
Very
moonshine in a mason jar. I never
Yeah.
thought about that.
Yeah, you're like, well, how are you gonna ever get in the bar? They can't put a little bottle, like little cans.
Doesn't
all
make
over the
sense,
place.
On that, well, some people like to make little spotty bottles so that make sure they get into that back bar because it can't go in the well.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
there's tactics to
Yeah,
the whole
right.
thing.
That's
Square
true.
bottles, and then how long's the neck and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and
It's
the
a whole
ones that
science
have,
unto itself.
I don't like the ones
Usability.
that when you pour them, they just dribble down the side because it's so
Ah,
hard
yeah.
to work with.
Yeah.
This,
Well, these seem to have
Boom.
potential for like the Pinterest people or the arts and crafts
Yeah.
people too, because it's a gorgeous bottle. You can do stuff with this. You
Right.
can make a nice vase out of that or something
Well,
afterwards.
we do it quite often, and the thing is, it took what, like 6 months to think up, but you were very much part of this project. Maybe
it
2
took-
years
It took 2 years
to
to
figure out
develop
how to
it.
make it for the right cost and
and
the
we
right
had to,
place.
like,
And, yeah.
costumes.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's produced. So the hard thing about producing this was just that the waves that go around the bottle. So how do you do this in the industrial scale?
Right.
And we were fortunate enough to win 2 packaging awards with this bottle. So we won the WPO, which is the World Packaging Organization, and also we won one in Brazil, which is the Brazilian Association, with all the packages. So considering like every single category, like so there was
Right.
like Lace competing with us, and like we were able to like win, which was a great thing after 2 years working on this, going to Colombia in
Which
order
is
to
quite
produce,
specifically
it's
was
like-
your role at the time,
Right.
going
Yeah.
back and forth.
So it
that's
qualifies like
It's just
effort.
well, we had to paint. We had to invent the process, and then we had to actually paint into it because usually, if you did that, you would build the bottle like step by step, dum
Yeah.
dum dum. But to do it in one feasible, like one piece, and then spread and the rest, like and have the mask drop down,
Mm-hmm.
you got to. We had to find a perfume factory to actually finish it off because they only had the level of equipment and all that sort of
Right.
stuff. But
Plus,
No.
you don't want it to cost more than the product.
But exactly that. But it was weird then because like it was important to have great packaging, and I think it's something that maybe Cachaça suffered from before.
Okay.
Packaging wasn't good when we looked at like how
Especially
we
in Brazil.
especially in
Yeah,
Brazil,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
very
no
basic,
doubt.
very basic. But I think the thing I'm still most proud of, even though we're now in the United States and in Europe, is that we managed to break the Brazilian market. That was the hardest challenge.
Oh yeah.